We're going to do something a little different on this episode of Street Scene Power Hour. We welcome everybody here with I'm Greg Roten, John Lesaganich, and Rick Guerrera, and I want everybody to do an activity. If you're sitting there listening to it or watching this, lean to the right.
No,
lean to the right.
Lean to the right. Okay.
You'll be turning left, and that's what Steve Dapolito does all night on the tracks. So that is what he does, and he is our special guest today.
Is that why he walks funny all the time?
Well, do you walk? do you walk with the right? So let's, Steve. We're gonna hold on there 1 second. We're gonna go through some a little bit of clerical work here. Wanted to just catch up with Rick and John first. Like I said, I've been kind of busy in my garage. I've got my new project. I've been working on that. It's going well. I could just put dual exhaust on the 70 Torino and got the underneath painted. It's ready to go. So
what size?
What's that? 2.5 inch.
2.5. Okay. What kind of muffler? What kind of muffler? Oh,
you know what I got this time? The car came in when I bought this car, the 70 Torino. It was an 80s style. The big rims in the back, they could barely fit, skinny tires in the front. I'm leaving it just like that. I'm using the same thing. I put 8-inch glass packs on it. They're only this big, so it's loud as hell, and I'm happy with that. So we're going to go old school with that. Yeah, we're going to go glass packs. It's got air shocks in the back. We're going to leave them. So we're going to go do that style that's actually sort of coming back now from the 70s, 80s type thing. So we're doing that. So, John, you know what? You are in the middle of doing another trade, it sounds like.
Yeah. Every show, it's another trade.
Yeah. And at one time, I think I told you guys this before sometime back, at one time out of Columbus, the BMV contacted me and actually wanted me to almost get a dealer's license.
I believe
You're only allowed to sell what, so many cars, 5 or 6, right?
I think it's 6 or 7. So
6 or 7.
I started putting them in my family member's name, my son, my wife, and, just to get out of it. But I was working on a trade. It kind of slowed down, and I sent you guys a couple emails. I was doing that one 1927 Willys Whippet.
Yep.
Because I wanted to get into, I've never had a Model T, Model A, that era of a car. And I thought, I enjoy doing things that I've never done before. And the big thing that kind of concerned me was the wooden spoke wheels. And I thought, what if, I know what you're saying, but what if you hit a curb and I can't go down to the local tire and wheel place and buy a new wheel.
Well, you go to Wilmington and have the Amish make you a pair.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
You better buy your wood. Buy your wood.
I went online and I seen a guy that repaired his wooden spoke wheels. Hell, you need to be a carpenter. You need to have a wood shop, a lathe.
Sure.
And I thought, so that kind of slowed me down. There was another guy online that had and I like when I share these, if these people watch the show, they say, hey, that's me, But he had a 74 Satellite that he painted to look like a Roadrunner because they're the same body.
Okay. Yeah.
Same body style. Just a 318, nothing great, but a pretty cool looking car. We were cutting a deal, and then he wanted the Super Beetle in cash on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Doable, but I don't know if I want to pull that string. So right now the bug is in the back. I go back there, and like I was talking to you guys earlier in the week, I have heat in my back garage, but I don't keep it heated. I have to turn the heat on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't go back there for about a week, you go back there. By the time you turn the heat on, and everything's cold, all the wrenches are cold, and you just I don't know. So the car scene for me has slowed a little bit until maybe the weather changes. So that's where I'm at.
Don't blame you, Rick.
I'm getting itchy for the car scene. You know that. My gosh, we're in the middle of the winter right now, and I want to go out and go hit some car shows and work on the cars and stuff like that, and it's been pretty slow in my ballpark here, and still working on my Firebird. I finally, after 3 pairs of door panels, got the correct one, the correct colored one. I told you that story. I got two sets and they were all wrong. And then the guy at we won't say, but Classic Industries, he tells me to spray them. Spray them to make so I hit the parchment with a yellow tint to them. I go, I'm not going to spray these. I paid you guys $700 for these door panels. Why should I have to spray brand new door panels? You said they were going to be that color to match the interior I bought off you. And so I sent them back there. I still haven't got my money back. And then so I found a pair out of Florida. And the Florida ones I got them the other day, and I go, ha ha ha, they're perfect. I was like a little kid in the candy store, you know. I looked at them, I go, that's it.
Yep.
So one other thing, and then another thing, it's something small, but it was big in my books, getting the trunk together in that '69 Firebird. There was nothing in the trunk when I got it, nothing. So I had to look for pretty much the correct stuff, you know, the inflator. Those come with those space saver tires, and you got that inflator, and then there's a bracket that holds that on. You got to find the right one. You got to find the right color inflator. There's like red ones and blue ones, and then there was no jack in it, so I had to find a jack. I found a jack, then I had to find a jack stand, the base of it, and then I still need the tire iron.
Well, I have that, but yes, I knew you were hinting at that because I keep forgetting it.
I wanted to remind you of that, and I got the wiring in for. I don't even say this one. I feel so embarrassed about this one. I almost burnt the thing up about 3 weeks ago, and so all my wiring just turned.
Now, Rick, why did it start to burn up?
I don't know. There's a demon in it. I said, no. The reason why I started to burn up. I'm not much of a mechanic. I went to a one-wire alternator. Okay, so one wire goes right to the solenoid. I'm dumb about this stuff, and I didn't even have to do everything I had to do. All I had to do is take the negative and hook it up to that one wire, and I would have been fine. And I thought I had to put a whole new wire from the alternator to the solenoid. The video I watched, the guy did that. I said, oh, okay, that's not bad. But I couldn't get to the solenoid in my old age, getting underneath the car and everything. And so I called up Summit, and I said, what's going on here? And they said, well, you could just hook it up the regular way. I said, okay. So that's what I did. And
reverse the polarities. So that'll have
I cooked it. I cooked it.
You'll have a little bit of a nice barbecue. So
my garage was so full of smoke I couldn't even see. I hurried up, opened the doors, put the fans on. Oh, what a mess. I'm not a mechanic by it, but I said I could put an alternator on. I've done that numerous times, you know. How hard is it to put an alternator on? You know,
I guess it's pretty hard, right?
Well, I can get my dog to do it. Yeah, well, some people. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm looking forward to March 2nd here, going to the Autorama.
Yep. That'll be look for. You're going to the Autorama in Detroit, so that'll to send some pictures. We'll share them on our next when we have our next podcast.
There'll be 2 podcasts, another month,
couple months.
March, but that's my biggie for the winter right now. So
hopefully our next street scene episode will be up at the IX Center. We're going to head up there.
I was going to try to go down to the what's it called, the World of Wheels in Pittsburgh. They got them all over. Okay, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Detroit. They got them all over. And I was going to try to make it down to the Pittsburgh one last weekend, but the weather was nasty, and I said, I'm not going to fight the weather. So I missed it.
Hey,
so
you guys know, I went on and I wanted to see when the upcoming Dave and Ed swap meet was in April. He's having one in February.
This one in February.
Indoors. Yeah.
It's probably in that new building, huh?
Yeah. It's going to be he's Corey Ward's in charge of that. A good friend of ours. He's having it indoors up at the Canfield Fairgrounds, up at their new building in there. So it'll be a smaller swap beat, but hopefully good. So
it breaks the winter.
Yeah. I mean, I know they were having, and I don't know if anybody, I think they've already had this. They had the picture car show.
I think it's this Sunday. Where the Quaker Steak?
Yeah. If you're listening to this, it's a Quaker Steak and Lube. They're having a picture car show. So
just bring a picture.
Just bring a picture, and people ask about your car, you talk about it. So it's kind of like going to a car show, except you just don't have your car there.
Right.
But we're going to move on from that. We're going to welcome Steve Dapolito. He is the guy that leads to the right on the track all the time because the car's going to the left. And he is, I'm going to go through just a teeny bit of his bio. 1993, 94, 15 at Hickory Speedway. So he has done 5 track championships, 4 at Sharon Speedway, 1 at Mercer Raceway, 3rd all time for wins in the stock car division at Sharon Speedway, won his first race in June 8th, 2001 at the Big Sharon track, and won a 100-lap race at Tri-City Speedway. He's been at Raceway 7, Sharon, Hickory, Pittsburgh Motor Speedway, Knox, Tri-City Speedway, on and on and on. This guy, Steve's been everywhere. So I think he knows how to race. So
Steve, you know Ryan Blaney? You probably do know him.
He's been to the track a few times. I've met him once or twice. Yep.
What a big deal that is, huh? Why? God, winning a title like that. Local boy wins the title. Love it. Love to get him on the show here, but I tried a couple times and
probably busy now that he won that.
Yeah.
And Daytona's coming up too real soon here. So
yeah.
Hey Steve, I don't want this to affect you, but since it was brought up, we tried to get Blaney, and since we couldn't get him, we got you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, make him feel really bad. He'll probably hang up and badmouth the podcast, and it's all John's fault.
Yeah. Let me just say that and I know Steve. He works with one of my clients, and we always talk about cars, and I share with him, my trades and all that. And then we start talking about stock cars and so on. And I did a little research on them, and I thought, man, that's a great topic for our show. I mean, we're all about cars. Rick, I know you like the road tracks better.
I like the Formula cars and the Indy cars, stuff like that.
Yeah, me. But, I'm the dirt track racer. I like the dirt track stuff.
Yeah, but I grew up at the Sunset Drag Strip over there, and where's that at? Towards Mercer there, and a drag strip. So my brother used to do that all the time. Cool. It was like was it an 1/8 mile? I think it was an 1/8 mile track, something like that. It wasn't very big.
And most of us in the area, and I grew up, Canfield Fair, dirt track, stock cars. I think it was every Saturday night. I think it was. Friday, we were at Meander at the drag strip, the 1/8 mile. Saturday night at the dirt track. So I thought Steve would be a great guest. You read his bio. I mean, he knows what he's doing out there. I grew up with a lot of stock car racers, and I think it's going to be an interesting podcast today because I got some questions reference to sprint cars, stock cars, dirt track, asphalt track. There's a lot of little differences in some of those tracks out there. But Greg, go ahead and bring Steve on board.
Okay, it's Steve Dapolito. You know what? One thing I did when I was at 27, we had a thing called for 2 years Race of the Week. We went out and shot the racing. I learned a ton from that. I learned the difference between the pro mods, the E mods, the sprint cars, and that. And you know what? For somebody that's racing, obviously all about it. Why don't you go through what you're racing and the difference? What makes up an E mod? What's the regulations? What's a pro mod? What makes that up, and what's the regulations for that?
Well, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of different divisions. So what I race, they call these pro stocks now. They used to be stock cars. They used to call them back when I first started. Well, now they transformed into what these are now, which are flat-sided bodies now, all aluminum, and basically it's just the front clip of a stock car. Everything else is built, box tubing built. All the A-arms and stuff are tubular A-arms, upper and lower. But that's our division. So like E-mods, they don't have any front fenders. They have, some E-mod classes have aluminum heads, which we have to be all steel head, steel block. So there's little differences like that. I mean, to keep them in different divisions. So like a sprint car is in this, but you know,
go ahead.
So
Those cars have a style of their own, don't they? You just kind of figure out what kind of car that is, and you go, well, what is it? What's it based off of?
yeah, this car here, my car here,
Yeah,
this is based metric, like a 80s metric chassis, like a Cutlass, Malibu, I think Regal,
okay.
Cars like that.
G bodies.
G body, exactly. Yeah, we just run clip now off of G body car, and everything else is fabricated.
Okay.
So when I first started,
when you get into those different categories, is that you know, is one, I don't know, faster than the other, one more powerful than the other? Are they regulated by horsepower, by engine size, anything like that?
Yeah, they get faster as you move up. So if from this, you could probably go to a late model that's a little faster, a crate late model, and then a super late model, and then probably sprint car is probably the fastest, you know, type of car on dirt. So you can move up, and there's different horsepower ranges and everything that, you know, you have to conform to the rules. So
I basically
go ahead, Rick.
I basically think you guys are crazy who drive those things. I think that's part of it. If you're crazy, you can drive these things on the dirt like this. They're nuts. I've been there numerous times, and wow, I just go, I can't believe they do that. Especially when they start bouncing out the fence and everything like that. Those sprint cars. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
you know,
we're gonna yeah, we're gonna talk and hopefully, I don't know, Greg, did you get some photos?
No. I don't have them, but I will, if I can get them, I'll insert them in the video broadcast. Okay, because our podcast listeners can't see them anyway. So
yeah, right. But later on in the show, I don't want to hit it now, but we'll talk about one of the exciting the time Steve wrecked. I'll just be up front because it was
probably they always wrecking.
Yeah, some of the photos, but the one thing that amazes me about the stock car races is, I think it's one of the, I don't know if I should say, one of the most truly blue collar races. These guys started off, they took cars that they weren't driving no more, then they started working on them, then they took them out at the dirt track. And it started by, you know, I mean, there's a reason why they only go left. I don't know if you guys did a little research on that.
That's what I was going to ask him. Why left? How come never right?
Go ahead. Do you know, Steve?
No, I really don't know why.
Well, school us, John. Let's see why.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, which way do the horses run on the horse track?
Left. Yeah.
They do. All these races were on old horse tracks, dirt tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when they brought them up. The other thing was, and this is kind of strange, since we were going against Britain, we wanted to do everything different in Britain.
Yeah.
Their horses go right. Go clockwise, and we wanted to go the opposite. So there's some history to that, but most of it is aligned with when these guys started working on their cars and they were challenging other people. Yeah, I'll race you out at the track. Let's go out at the horse track. Most of them at the fairgrounds. You know, that's where they were. And that's how that started itself. But I think I want to focus in something that you said, Rick. And I don't know if this is true, and I'll ask Steve. Does the car have to represent a certain type of car or body, a Ford, a Malibu, you know, anything, or your car, the front clip? What is it? Is it based off any type of model, certain model?
No. If you look at them, they're really not. They're not based off of any type of car. I mean, they sell headlight stickers and stuff for, like, you know, Chevy or Corvette. And, you know, you could put that on the nose piece. The nose piece is just a plastic nose piece. It doesn't really represent any type of car. So they don't really look like any type of stock car out on the road anymore.
You know,
when I first started, they looked more like a like you're talking about, a car that you could go to a junkyard and get parts off cars and put them on there and run. But now they don't look like that anymore.
like NASCAR, they look like a stock car, but they're far from it.
They're not the old days when they had to sit there and dip the cars in acid and put plexiglass in the windows. Steve, I got a quick question that came in my head. You know, John, I'm hinging off what John said. They all go left. And it's not as simple. If you wanted to do a right-hand race, it's not as simple as just turning the wheel right. What would you have to do to the car to get it ready for that?
Well, you would have to change all the springs to the opposite way. You would have to change the tires because we run bigger tires on the right side for stagger. I mean, it would, you know, you could probably get away like that, but I mean,
how about the floats and the carburetors?
What's that?
How about the floats in the carburetor? Would you have to change that at all?
May not have to, but like the front end, the A-arms and stuff like that, you would have to change all that.
And I bet there'd be a lot more accidents if you threw a wrench in. Hey, we're going the opposite. It's opposite day. We're going to the right. So you're going to have to go the right. But what the hell? I can't drive that way. You know.
Then we're English, huh?
Steve, what's your average speed out there on the track?
So at Sharon Speedway, I think our average speed right now is around 70 something, 71, 72. So that's average. So probably going into the corner, we're probably close to about 90-ish, give or take, because you got to slow down to turn the corner, so a little bit.
But to put it in perspective for people listening or watching, this is an 1/8 mile track, correct? Is it an 1/8 mile or is it a quarter?
It's Sharon is a 3/8, I believe.
Oh, it's a 3/8. Okay,
Yeah.
You're going 90 miles an hour in a straightaway that's taking up 3 seconds, basically, probably from that straightaway to the next corner, going that fast.
Probably.
Yeah. So go on the road 90 mile an hour and then have to slow down 25 mile an hour to take a turn. Think about that. In like 100 feet. It's like, geez.
I mean, we slow down, but we don't slow down a lot because, as you know, you're sliding around the corner and you're not really coming to a stop and turning the corner. So you're keeping the momentum up and going right through the corner onto the next straightaway or backstretch.
So you mentioned we talked about the different models, and you mentioned that. Can you take your car and race it on asphalt?
Again, you'd have to do a lot of changes, spring shock, stuff like that. It probably would be easier to do that than it would be to turn right.
No.
Yeah. So what's the track made out of? Is it special clay or something? So
at Sharon right now, I believe they had some red clay brought in.
Okay.
For I think about 4 or 5 years now. So before it was just like brown dirt. Some sort of clay also was mixed in. They need clay to keep it all together, to try to keep it all together.
That stuff gets pretty hard after a while too, right?
Well, it could get as hard as an asphalt track.
Wow.
So, yeah. Now you see it as it goes on, the track gets harder and harder. It slicks off, we call it, and you'll see black on the dirt. So, yep, it gets real hard. Real hard and slick, real hard to drive.
How many horsepower are you pushing in that thing?
So this one here, a small block of 415. So I think it has around 600 or 650 horsepower.
And that could be, you could base it. Is there any limitations? You'd have to be a small block, correct, for that car?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Chevy, Ford, Toyota, or anything like that.
No, it doesn't matter. There's some Fords out there, but not too many. 9% of them are Chevy small blocks. They have to be all cast iron, steel block and steel. But other than that, you're not allowed like a blower or anything like that.
Yeah.
It has to be carbureted.
And can you have an aluminum intake on that, or does it have to be a steel intake? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But now the motor rules are sort of open now. So there's a lot of things we could do to inside the motor, roller rockers and stuff like that now.
I'm going to show my ignorance here. Is that standard shift?
Well, sort of. I heard you last week talk about a Model A Ford that you're talking about getting, in a Model T. So you've never driven one of those?
No, that's why I wanted to get one.
Have fun with it and enjoy.
This transmission in this car, it's a racing transmission. It's basically you put low gear and you push the clutch, and that gets you rolling out onto the track. You let off the clutch and you bang the shifter back into high gear and you leave it go. And that's how we race. So basically a Model T, I believe, is that same way.
So just a 2-speed.
It's a low and a high in a reverse. First, that's another shift.
Yeah.
You do have brakes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever use them?
You have to use them sometimes.
I had a motorcycle one time I raced and it didn't have brakes. It had a compression release. That was your brake.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Before we go any further, Steve, and we might as well, because we show these shows constantly, but on the back of your truck, I mean, it's obvious there's Dapolito Tree Farm.
Yep.
That's your dad?
Yeah, that's my mom and dad's tree farm.
Where's that at? Bird Hill.
Lisbon, Ohio.
Lisbon, Ohio. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool. And so let's talk about sponsors. I mean, sponsors, that's how you get some money to build your car, right?
Yeah. And it's tough to get sponsors, as you guys probably know.
Yeah.
So I mean, over the last 5 or 10 years or so, I would say that we pretty much fund this out of our own pockets. Me, my dad, and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, sponsors, Utzinger's Towing over in Boardman, I used to drive for him.
Okay.
He sponsored me for years. I used to get, like products like Wix oil filters. I got that off of them. Oil I would get, just, discounts on parts from other companies and stuff like that. But yeah, I know a sign company that should sponsor you. Well, I get all my aluminum from him. So yeah.
All right. Well, we got something. So how'd you get involved with it, Steve? How'd you get how long have you been racing?
Take us back to the beginning of what got you interested in this.
Well, I think as I was younger, I always wanted to race something, either cars or 3-wheelers or 4-wheelers or dirt bikes. But I mean, we've always been into cars. My dad has always had old cars around and junk cars. And me and my brother used to drive them all the time when we were, 10, 12 years old. So, I mean, we've been playing around with cars forever. So, but my dad started first, and then a few years after that, I turned 15 and I bought a car. Actually, a dirt car was my first real car before I had a driver's license. And then
your dad raced?
My dad raced for about 2 years. Yep. He started it out.
And then he figured out it'd be easier just to grow Christmas trees.
Yeah. Safer anyway.
Racing,
That's a tough bit.
How about your brother? Did your brother race too, or?
My brother raced, I think 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Up to 7 they called it a hobby stock class, which is more of a stock appearing type class. Nothing compared to this. So some of the difference on dirt and asphalt,
you know, and Rick brought it up. He mentioned what the track was made out of and all that. And as you're racing, you're going to form grooves in that dirt track. So one race may be different than the other race. There's going to be different positions on that track that you want to gain, right? Locations on the track.
Yeah, exactly. It changes all night long. So when you first show up there for your heat race, you can go out there and it could be a muddy, sticky mess. And that is just pretty much hold it to the floor and go. Then as the night moves on, the track starts to widen out, which pushes up a cushion, sometimes up near the rail, the guardrail, and then it'll start slicking off. So you have to search around for the fastest line to race.
So, you know, knowing that, I mean, it would appear to me that, and I'm not taking away because we may have an asphalt racer on here someday. You guys got to have a little bit more talent than knowing that asphalt. I mean, the asphalt track stays the same, right?
I think there's changes, but not as much as ours does.
Heat.
Yeah.
Heat's no problem.
Weather, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it takes down rubber, and I think it has something to do too with the sun shining on their track. I mean, I think when the sun
colder, yeah,
flicks off, it's like slimy and greasy from that. But I don't know. Those guys are pretty good though. I mean, them asphalt guys, they're.
Oh, I know. I was just trying to start trouble. But
and if you have any complaints, email John Lasaganich at.
but here's the thing. Also, on the dirt track, I mean, you guys got dirt flying up in your engine, flying on your transmission, getting in your brakes, getting on your windshield. It's not as clean as asphalt, right?
Oh no, definitely not. No, nope.
So you got to deal with that, right?
Yeah, you have to deal with that. Every Sunday morning, I have to deal with that when I wash it. So.
And getting clay. If you've ever tried to get clay off cars, clay dirt, that is an impossible task. You're an all day trying to get that off.
Yeah, it's probably a 3 to 4 hour process on Sunday after the races.
Yeah. So how long's a race? How long's one race?
So our heat races are 8 laps. So we run a heat race to qualify for the feature. So if you qualify for the feature, a feature is usually 20 to 25 laps. It all depends on, the track and if it's a special race. There's a couple races that are, I believe, 75 laps. We raced a couple years ago at Sharon. So it'll change. They'll have special nights where, this race pays $5,000 and it's going to be a 50-lap race or a 40-lap race or something like that. But in general, a regular night at Sharon Speedway, 20 to 25 laps.
Once a year.
You got a couple guys that you hate to see show up. No names. You don't have to give any names.
Yeah. I mean, we're always looking. Roll in. It's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's that one crew that shows up once a year? Not the Bandits. What are they called? The
Outlaws or
the
Outlaws.
Yeah, the Outlaws. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said, it's the one thing I remember when I was doing I was the TV director for Race of the Week out at Sharon Speedway, is taking if you're out there, it's something, if you haven't seen dirt track racing, it will blow your mind if you're sitting in that stand going, I can't believe how fast they're going.
And how loud it is.
How loud. You better bear your earplugs. And make sure you're going to breathe in a ton of dirt. You're going to be covered in dirt. I remember taking the cameras and the equipment back and having to clean them out after every race. And it took hours to do that. And we ruined a couple cameras doing that stuff. So but what is the hardest thing you had to get used to when you started racing? What is the one hardest thing that really you had to catch on to doing?
Figuring out the car, out how to drive the car and drive it fast enough to be up front. I mean, it took years to learn that. I mean, I still learn every time I go out now. I mean, there's always something else different. something different you could do to the car to make it better, but it's just figuring out how to drive it and and then after you figure that out, it's how to win. There's a certain way to win and how to do it, how to get there. There's a lot more to it than people realize, I guess you should say.
Yeah, it's not just going out there and getting behind the wheel, put your foot to the floor and turning the wheel left. It's not that. Nope. I mean, when you guys drift around that, there's some talent in drifting on that clay dirt. It's not like taking your car out to the snow, in the snow and doing donuts. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
So how long would a set of tires last you?
Well, that all depends. If the track slicks off and you run too soft of a compound, you'll burn them off. So you have to match the compound with the track. If it's a harder track, you put a harder tire on. So if you do that correctly, you put a harder tire on, they'll probably last you 3-4 nights if you're doing it right and they're getting the traction they need to get. So, but you don't know what that track is like until, is that what that heat race is for? Is that when you find out what type of tire you want to run? Or no, you have to look at the track. You have to actually, sometimes we walk out on the track, take a screwdriver, stick it in the track to see how hard it is and how deep it goes. If it's real hard, hardly go in. If it's soft and muddy and traction, it'll go about 2 or 3 inches.
Okay, so you'd want basically a soft tire for harder track or a softer track?
Softer track.
Soft tire for a soft track, hard tire for a hard track. Okay. And what about air pressure do you run on those tires?
So it's different on all 4 corners. On the right rear, which gets the most heat in it, we will run 13 pounds. The right front will run 12 pounds, left front 10, left rear about 8.
And if you were 1 pound off on air, can you notice that driving that car?
No, I mean, not really. No.
Now, how far would you have to be off? It
would be off probably 4 or 5 pounds, I think. And then you'll know. Yeah, like NASCAR guys, they can tell that because they're so technical and so spot on, what they do. And, they could drop it a half a pound.
Well, hell, they're going 200 miles an hour too. So, yeah.
And they're exactly. Yeah.
And they're on asphalt as well. So
right.
I can't imagine being on that dirt and it's bumpy. And I'm sure you probably get a dang workout trying to keep your hands on the wheel and, you're probably taking a hot shower that night going, man, I'm sore from that. It's just not an easy drive. You're not cruising down the highway on that.
No, I mean, it's work. I mean, it's not easy at all. I mean, you're bouncing around, you're it's not easy, but it's fun. I mean, it's fun. But yeah,
so Steve, when we had the boat at Lake Erie, if I would spend all day out on the boat on Lake Erie, and and everyone knows this, whoever boats, I would come back and you go to take a shower and you're still swaying back and forth. You got those sea legs to you. It takes time.
You still leaning right?
that was my question. When you come back, I mean, do you still feel that moving in a circle motion? I mean, does that take time to go away? I don't know. I'm just
the thing that I feel most is the speed difference. So when I get in the truck and trailer to haul home, you can tell it's like, boy, we're going 70 miles an hour. I'm like, feels like
nothing.
Yeah.
It's like driving across the desert. I'm going 90, but I don't feel like I am going 90.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But that's the big notice when I'm done racing.
Do you ever find it difficult to get home because it's so difficult to make a right-hand turn?
No, but sometimes driving home from Raceway 7, you have to pull over and somebody else has to drive because we're so tired.
Oh,
yeah. I can imagine.
Drive, that long stretch on Route 11, there's nothing out there. It's flat and it's like, it gets tough. So
yeah,
after a long day.
So let's talk about, where do you get all your parts?
So I get most of my parts from Race One. He is a race1.com. He's actually a neighbor of mine that has been selling parts, and he was a crew chief of mine for a lot of years, and
Wow.
he really going into the whole deal here. So he's right around the corner. So very convenient.
Rick, you got a question?
Who does all your work for you?
As far as engines,
Just your car. Do you do most of your work yourself?
me, my dad, my brother. Yeah.
How about the
If it's
engine wise? Go ahead.
Engine wise, a guy up in Franklin, PA, Travis Harry, he does the engines now. Brad,
What do engines cost? I know they're not cheap.
no. This one in here now, we bought it with, I think, 2 nights on it off a guy. And we paid $12,000 for it.
God dang.
How long they supposedly last?
How many nights?
Yeah.
You could get a good season out of it. You know what I mean? And then it'll back and he'll freshen it up, new rings and bearings, and go through it and make sure everything's.
They take a lot of wear from, I mean, you run your season, you take it back to the engine builder. There, what takes the most beating on those engines? Just from the heat, or is it the cranks or bearings in those that take the beating?
Yeah, rings and bearings are the main thing. Yeah, because it just it wears them out quicker than.
When's the season start?
Sharon's season starts May 11th, I believe it is the first race. They kind of pushed it back this year. Usually they'll start in the beginning of April, and a lot of rainouts happen.
Yeah.
The
weather's changing, so it's not.
Yeah.
It seems like we're, again, talk about weather, I guess, but it seems like we're wet up until June anymore. So
is that Sharon Speedway still owned by Blaney?
Yeah. Yep.
Is it the Blaney family or Ryan or his dad?
I believe it's his dad. His mom has a lot to do with it. She's there all the time. Dave Blaney's mom.
I know when they bought it, they put a lot of money into it. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
What a tradition, man. What a tradition. The Blaney's grown up here in Hartford, Ohio, and then they all race, and then Ryan, the third, he wins the title.
Yeah,
God, you can't beat that, huh?
We used to watch his grandfather, Lou Blaney, race at Sharon, and you talk about a wheelman. He was the best around here. I mean, he's good.
Yeah, I got to jump in here because you know what? The Blaney saved Sharon Speedway. If you look in the history of Sharon Speedway, it was wooden bleachers that were splintered. They're falling down, and they were going to tear that place down. And they came in and bought it and saved us. And it's people like you, Steve, that keep keep the dirt track racing alive. Because and again, I have to ask this: have you seen any younger? We always try to get the younger generations coming into car shows, classic cars, anything like that. Have you guys seen a drop off in interest from younger people, or is it pretty level, or is it rising?
It definitely has dropped off, but I still see some younger kids coming up through. A guy that I've raced with for many years, his nephew, I believe he's 13 or 14 years old. He is in an E-mod. He started out in an E-mod, but he's been coming up through, racing at Deerfield with micro sprints and stuff like that, and now he's moved on to bigger cars. And I think, and he's always been at the races watching his uncle and watching everybody. He's been around it for his whole life. So, and he's starting in the bigger cars now, and I think that he'll stick with it. I mean, it seems like it. He seems to be pretty interested in it and wanting to do better. And young kid, real nice kid. His name's Travis Carruthers. He'll be pretty to hang. But
you guys got to be salesmen too. Just go up there with these little kids and let them sit in the car and talk to them about the car. That's all it takes sometimes. That get them interested, and then they start following. And next thing you know, they're be right next to you on the track. Who's this young guy?
We have a lot of local racers.
Yeah, there is a lot around. There really is. There's a sprint car right down the street, actually, from here. It's actually Utzinger's towing, his son, he got a sprint car and they work on it over here. And Brad at Race One, his daughter, he has 2 daughters. They're into it now, and they're right over here. Yeah. So there's actually
sprint cars are totally different, right?
You really got to be insane for those, man.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, they're the open wheel cars, right?
Exactly. Yep.
The wings on the top. If you don't know what a sprint car is, it's a open wheel car. It looks like a big go-kart with a big wing on the top for air dams. And
how fast do those go?
What's that?
How fast do those sprint cars go?
I think at Sharon Speedway, they probably around 120, maybe faster.
And
I told you guys that the house I live in and my back garage was Ronnie Trevis's old house, and Trevis was known for his sprint cars frames.
Yep.
His dad was, but you know, exactly. And one of my best friends, he was in my wedding, and Steve, I'll mention his name on the air. He doesn't mind. Johnny Sandquist. He raced, his son raced, and his dad was a good racer.
Yep.
You plan on going to sprint cars, Steve? You're talking a lot more money too, right?
A little bit more money for those, right?
That?
A little bit more money for those, right? Or not?
Yeah. I mean, those motors alone are 40 grand.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. I'd take one of those I'd take anything small block Chevy, just throw in my car.
Yeah,
but
can we drive you?
Give me your
car, Steve?
give me your worn out Chevy. I'll put it in my car. You know.
You ever let anybody drive your car? I mean, just for like a tour around the track.
A couple. They call them powder puff races. Actually, well, Utzinger's towing. His wife drove it. Times for those. I can't remember if my brother has driven it or not. He may have driven it once or twice, but as far as full race, let somebody in it, no.
No way.
You'd see them start rolling it right down the track.
You got your head in the way there, but what number is on your car?
84.
84. Where's that number from?
So my dad was 83 when he started, and then when I got my car, I just took the 84.
One up them. Okay.
Now, did you have to fight? Do you have to, if somebody's got the same number as you, what happens then?
So there is actually another 84 that races out there in the past few years. He put I believe it's a letter S.
That's less S. I know they put a letter at the end of it.
Yeah. Or sometimes they'll put a number 1 in front of it, or you know what I mean, just to switch it up, just so they know in the lineup and all that they need to know. So
let's talk about, look, you bragged enough, Steve. You told her we mentioned all your championships. You got the beautiful car behind you. So let's segue right into, tell us about the wreck you had.
Okay. Everybody sitting down for this?
It was a bad one. If we had the photos, and Greg, you mentioned,
I will if he sends me the photo. I don't know where they are. I didn't get them. So Steve, send me the photos, or John, and let's hear about this wreck you've had.
So it was it's the first time I ever rolled a car. First time I ever wrecked that bad. So what happened was I hit the front stretch wall with the right side of the car, and what it did was it slapped the front end over into the wall. So when it did that, it hit the front end and it shot me to the infield. I was sliding across the track. They have those big Uke tires, they call them, in the infield, keep people out of the infield. And the back end hit one of those, and it flopped me over.
Yeah. You got dirty on that one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How many times did you roll?
It went over one complete time, which was enough.
Yeah, that'll scare you.
So who was in the stand watching you? Was the family there?
Well, my dad was there. My brother was there. A couple other guys that I know. My mom was watching it at home. you saw it on the Dirt Vision, they call it. It's they televise those. So
Oh, they do. That's cool.
Yeah, she was worried, but it couldn't have been better. Those rollovers can get pretty bad. This one was a pretty easy one. It looked a lot worse than it was. But
now you're caged in, you're belted in.
Yep.
I'm sure you were safe. Did you have any injuries from that wreck, or?
I just had a sore neck. I think it was like the Monday after. But other than that, I mean, I was good. I mean,
yeah. What type of gear do you have to wear? Clothing.
You got fire suit, gloves, helmet. You're supposed to wear head and neck restraint like a Hans device. There's a couple other ones now.
It works, huh?
Well, I didn't have it on that night. I just had, they call it a horse collar, foam collar that you put on your neck just to keep it, just to keep your flopping around. So after that, my dad made me put the Hans back on.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, save your life.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, do you have any pre-race rituals that you perform before getting strapped into your ride?
No.
All these guys are superstitious in their ways,
A lot of them won't put green on the car at all and stuff like that. I know one thing we don't do. We don't eat peanuts. Peanuts. Yep.
Peanuts will what?
They're bad luck.
Oh,
peanuts. I never heard that one.
Well, no wonder I have so much bad luck. I like peanuts.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know that in the car scene?
That's right.
I learned something new today, along with a lot of other stuff. Jeez.
So there's the guy you're not going to see at the racetracks, because at every Dave and Ed swap meet, you see that guy selling those peanuts.
He's just jinxing people. Well, that's why we don't see any dirt track racers.
You will not see him at Sharon Speedway.
Right. So how much to build a car from scratch, money wise? I know it's expensive. Ballpark figure on that.
So let me figure it this way. So to buy a rolling chassis, frame, rear end in it, the A-arms, a body on it, right now, brand new, that alone is right around 30,000.
Jeez, again, the car hobby's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that. But if you wrecked a car, you're blowing 30,000 plus out the window then.
Can you buy prefab bodies for those?
Not prefabbed. I mean, we can make these here with a brake. It's all aluminum, so I mean they're flat much with a brake on top. I mean, they're not real difficult to build, really. Like the stuff gets a little more involved, but
how about the cages? Do you buy the cages, or do you build those as well?
Yeah, I bought the cages. A guy in Pittsburgh builds the car, and he put the body on this time, and he'll set up the rear ends and put all the mounting points on the rear end and stuff like that.
So what kind of rear ends do you run in those?
Well, it's a Ford 9-inch.
Okay.
But now this year they're allowing a quick change rear end. So yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
what is that? Explain that.
A quick change?
Yeah.
So a quick change is basically you can change the gear from the back side of the rear end with about, I think it's like 6 or 8 bolts. The back cover comes off. There's 2 gears in there. You slide them in, you slide them out.
Right. And why would you want to do that?
Well, it's easier to change them at the track. And if you jump from track to track, you have to change gears because all the tracks are different sizes around here.
Speed, you want control your speed a little bit. It's like putting in the car world, it's like getting rid of your 273 gears in the back and putting 373 gears. You're going to get a little more low end and less top end.
Exactly.
How strict are they on the safety check on those before you race?
Yeah, I mean, they check them pretty much one time during the year. You know, the first night out, they'll come around and check everything, and they'll put a sticker on the car, so everybody knows that they inspected it, and then you're usually good. And then they'll spot check every few races or something. And
if you're doing too good, they'll spot check you, huh? If you're doing too good, they'll spot check you.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we got about 4 minutes left here. I've got one question to ask, but I'll go to John first. You got to anything to wrap up the.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank Steve. I think it was interesting. I think, for things to do, I mean, Sharon Speedway, and you mentioned it, Greg, stock car racing. It's a great night out.
Oh, family night out. If you want to take the family and the kids, go watch it. It's fun. Just bring your headphones.
Bring your headphones. Yes.
Yeah, and wear some clothes that you don't care they're going to get dirty, and plan on not eating any peanuts.
Yeah. And watch those crazy guys on the track. That's what they are.
That's all I got.
Hey, Rick. Steve, before we go here, how many speeding tickets have you ever got?
I got a few, yeah. Try to keep that on the track.
On the track?
Yeah, I try to keep.
Oh, on the road. Okay. Okay. Let me ask you another quick question. I always like to ask this. How fast have you gone? Just on the roads or anything? The fastest you've gone in your life?
You know, I think in high school, one of my buddies had one of those Mitsubishi 3000 GTs.
Oh God, my son's had 3 of them.
Went down 224. I think we hit 100. If I can remember right, that was in high school. That was a long time. But that was from. Yeah.
You went out on me. I didn't hear it. How fast was it?
130-ish.
130-ish. Okay. Hey, before you leave here, get your camera and turn it over to your.
That was my last question, because I was starting to drool over there. I was
I see that old truck there.
Yeah.
What do you got there?
That's my dad's.
Yeah, that's his truck.
It's a 40
Ford.
What? 40 Ford.
A 40 Ford.
40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like it's chopped and everything.
No, I don't think it's chopped.
No, it looks.
That looks good.
Looks solid. How solid is that? Pretty good?
It's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Another project, huh?
Under construction.
It was. All we have is projects, it seems like. Yep.
Yeah. Well, hey, Steve, if anybody wants to get any information on the Dapolito racing, anything, do you have a website, Facebook, or anything like that?
Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot.
Okay.
At 84 Racing. I'm on there. Facebook, my name, Steve Dapolito.
Okay. Maybe we'll hopefully we'll get some sponsors interested and throw them your way. So
we'll put our street scene stickers on there, huh?
Yeah.
I'd like that. We should. Come on now.
Now, like I said, my everybody's got a bucket list item. I've always wanted to do a demolition derby, and I probably will never get to do it now, but
Greg, let's do one. Come on.
I know. Let's do one. Anybody want a driver? We got 3 drivers here for
I'm not going to drive it. I'm not going to drive it.
Steve, we want to thank you so much for joining us. There's a million other questions. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
For Rick Guerrera, John Lesaganich, my name's Greg Roten, and we had guest Steve Dapolito, and we will see you down the road.